When I married Megan, Kyle was 9 years old and already old enough to understand that I was not his father. I never asked him to forget Brad. I never wanted to replace anyone. I only wanted to become the man who stayed. Brad appeared when it suited him. Birthdays. Christmas. The occasional hockey game where he arrived late, shouted from the stands, and left before the equipment bags had been loaded into the car. I handled everything else. I paid the registration fees for Kyle's hockey team. I bought the skates that seemed to become too small every 6 months, the sticks that snapped, the uniforms, the pads, the hotel rooms during tournaments. I paid for doctor appointments, prescriptions, dental work, school trips, and summer camps. Every month, I also placed money into a college account with Kyle's name on it. I told myself that one day he would understand. One day he would look back and remember who sat beside him in emergency rooms, who drove through snowstorms to practices, who worked overtime so he could wear the same equipment as boys whose parents had more money. I was not buying his love. At least, that was what I told myself. The truth was uglier. I was hoping sacrifice might eventually purchase respect. That hope died on a Tuesday night. Kyle had been arguing with Megan about his grades. I stepped in calmly and told him that hockey would have to wait until his schoolwork improved. He looked at me with pure contempt. "You don't get to decide anything," he said. Megan stood beside the sink silent. I reminded him that I was the one paying for hockey. He laughed. Then he leaned back in his chair and said, "You're nothing to us." Not nothing to him. Nothing to us. I looked at Megan. She lowered her eyes. That silence hurt more than his words. I did not shout. I did not threaten him. I did not remind him of every dollar, every mile, every night I had sacrificed. I simply nodded. "All right," I said. "I accept your answer." That night, I went into my office and closed Kyle's college account. I transferred the money back into my savings. Then I canceled the automatic hockey payments, removed my card from the orthodontist's office, and stopped funding every expense that did not belong to the household itself. Megan entered while I was finishing. "What are you doing?" "I'm correcting a misunderstanding." Her face tightened when I explained. "You can't punish him because he was angry." "I'm not punishing him," I said. "I'm respecting his decision. Brad is his father. You are his mother. I am nothing." She called me cruel. I asked her why expecting Kyle's real family to support him was cruel. She had no answer. The consequences arrived quickly. Kyle missed a payment deadline and was removed from the hockey roster. His orthodontist appointment was cancelled. The college preparation program sent an overdue notice, then gave his place to another student. I never forbade him from doing any of it. I simply stopped paying. Megan tried to cover the costs herself. Within 2 weeks, she was moving money between accounts and asking for extensions. She called Brad repeatedly. He promised to help. He always promised. Then he disappeared. Kyle became furious. He accused me of ruining his future, humiliating him in front of his teammates, and destroying the only thing he cared about. I listened. When he finished, I asked one question. "Why should nothing pay for everything?" He stared at me, but he could not answer. For the first time, he was forced to see the machinery behind the life he had considered normal. Every fee had been paid before he noticed it. Every problem had been solved before it reached him. He had mistaken protection for entitlement. A month later, Kyle found a job stocking shelves after school. The first weeks were ugly. He came home exhausted, bitter and embarrassed. He sold an expensive gaming system to pay an old hockey balance. He stopped going out with friends. He learned to compare prices. He learned that money disappeared faster than it arrived. Something inside him began to change. The sarcasm faded. The demand stopped. He started washing his own clothes without being asked. He gave Megan money for gas. Once, I saw him studying at the kitchen table after midnight, still wearing his work uniform. I said nothing. Several months passed before he knocked on my office door. He stood there with his hands in his pockets, no anger left in his face. "I understand now," he said. I waited. He swallowed hard. "When I said you were nothing to us, I wanted to hurt you. I knew you pay for things, but I never thought about what it cost you. I thought you were supposed to do it." His eyes dropped. "Brad is my father. But you were the one acting like one." The apology did not erase the sentence. Some words leave scars even after forgiveness begins. I did not reopen the college fund. I did not restore every payment. Immediate rescue would have turned his lesson into another temporary inconvenience. But I helped him make a budget. Later, I matched part of what he saved. We rebuilt slowly. This time, our relationship was not held together by my wallet. It was built through conversations, shared responsibilities, and respect that no longer had to be begged for. I learned something too. Sometimes people cannot see the hands carrying them until those hands finally let go. Kyle had to lose the life he took for granted before he understood who had quietly built it. Was I wrong to step back? Or was stepping back the first truly fatherly thing I ever did? Kyle's apology did not repair the house overnight. For months, Megan and I had lived like two people standing on opposite sides of a crack, pretending the floor beneath us was still whole. She had never forgiven me for cutting off the money. I had never forgiven her for standing silent when her son told me I was nothing. Kyle was changing. Megan was not. She watched every conversation between us with suspicion. When I helped him build a budget, she accused me of controlling him. When I matched part of his savings, she said I was making him earn affection. When I refused to pay the remaining hockey debt, she called me stubborn. I finally asked her what she wanted. She stood in the kitchen with her arms folded, the same place where she had lowered her eyes on the night everything broke. "I want things to go back to normal," she said. Normal. The word almost made me laugh. Normal had been me paying every bill while Kyle mocked my place in the family. Normal had been Brad receiving the title while I carried the responsibilities. Normal had been Megan asking me to absorb every insult because confrontation made her uncomfortable. "I don't want normal back," I told her. Her expression hardened. "Then what do you want?" "Respect." She looked away. That was when I understood that Kyle had not created the imbalance in our family. He had inherited it. Megan had taught him, without ever saying the words, that I would continue giving regardless of how they treated me. My devotion had become a household utility. They noticed it only when it stopped. Kyle continued working at the grocery store. Winter arrived, and I watched him leave before sunrise on Saturdays, pulling his coat tight against the wind. He no longer asked for rides unless the weather was dangerous. He saved every paycheck and recorded each expense in the spreadsheet we had made together. One evening, he placed an envelope on my desk. Inside was money. "What is this?" I asked. "My part of the orthodontist bill." I told him the appointment had not been rescheduled. "I know," he said. "But it will be. I want to pay something." The amount was small compared with the full cost, but that did not matter. For years I had spent thousands on him without feeling seen. That thin envelope meant more than all of it. I accepted the money. Not because I needed it. Because he needed me to accept it. A few weeks later, the hockey coach called. One of the players had moved, leaving an opening on the team. Kyle could return if the overdue balance and new registration fee were paid by Friday. The old version of Kyle would have run to me with the phone in his hand and expectation in his eyes. This Kyle came into my office quietly. "I can cover half," he said. "Maybe more if they let me pay in installments." I studied him. Hockey had once been the center of his life. Losing it had wounded him more deeply than he admitted. Yet he was not demanding rescue. He was presenting a plan. I agreed to cover the other half. Megan overheard us. The moment Kyle left the room, she confronted me. "So now you decide he has suffered enough?" "No," I said. "Now he understands the cost. He apologized months ago. An apology is a beginning, Megan. It is not payment for every debt. Her eyes filled with anger. He is a child. He is 17. He made one mistake. No. He said one sentence. The mistake lasted for years. She flinched, because she knew I was no longer talking only about Kyle. I asked her why she had remained silent that night. She said she had been shocked. I asked why she had defended him afterward but never defended me. She said she was protecting her son. And who was protecting me? The question settled between us. She had no answer. That night, Megan slept in the guest room. The next morning, she moved some of her clothes there. Kyle noticed, but he did not ask what had happened. Perhaps he already knew. The strange thing was that while my marriage weakened, my relationship with Kyle grew stronger. We started having coffee together before his Saturday shifts. He asked about my work, something he had never done before. I told him about the years when I had taken overtime to cover his tournaments. He listened without interrupting. I thought you liked working, he said eventually. I like providing. There's a difference. There is when no one notices the price. He stared into his cup. I notice now. Those words should have brought me peace. Instead, they made me mourn all the years when I had needed to hear them. By spring, Kyle had saved enough for the college preparation course. I offered to contribute. He shook his head. I want to pay for this one. There was pride in his voice, but not arrogance. For the first time, I saw the man he might become. That evening, Megan returned to our bedroom. She sat on the edge of the bed and admitted that she had used my reliability as an excuse to avoid difficult conversations. Brad disappointed Kyle, so she protected the fantasy of him. I never disappeared, so she assumed I could endure anything. You were safer to hurt, she whispered. It was the most honest thing she had ever said to me. I did not forgive her immediately. But I listened. The following months were quieter. Kyle returned to hockey, paid part of every fee and stopped treating my help as something automatic. Megan began correcting him without waiting for me to reach my breaking point. Brad remained absent, making promises from a distance. His absence no longer ruled our home. Mine nearly had. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I had continued paying. Kyle might have reached adulthood believing love was measured by how much disrespect it could survive. Megan might have continued calling my silence patience. And I might have disappeared inside my own generosity. I did not save our family by giving more. I saved what remained of it by finally refusing. Was that cruelty? Or do some families only learn the value of a man after he proves he can walk away? Spring turned into summer, and for the first time since that terrible night, our house no longer felt like a battlefield. It wasn't peaceful yet. Wounds do not disappear simply because someone apologizes. They heal slowly, one honest moment at a time, and only if both people are willing to stop pretending the past never happened. Kyle kept working after school even though I told him he no longer had to prove anything to me. He surprised me with the answer. I'm not doing it for you anymore, he said. I'm doing it because I don't ever want to feel helpless again. Those words stayed with me. For years I had tried to protect him from every disappointment. I believed love meant removing every obstacle before it reached him. Looking back, I realized I had protected him so well that he never learned what those obstacles actually cost. Now he knew. He counted every dollar before spending it. He compared prices instead of grabbing whatever he wanted. When his friends invited him somewhere expensive, he sometimes declined because it didn't fit his budget. Months earlier he would have complained that life was unfair. Now he simply adjusted. One Saturday morning I found him repairing his old hockey equipment in the garage. I thought you wanted new skates, I said. I do. He smiled. But these still work. It was such a small sentence. Yet it represented a completely different young man. Before, every solution had come from my wallet. Now he searched for solutions himself. Megan noticed it too. She admitted one evening that Kyle had become calmer, more patient, even kinder toward people outside our family. At the grocery store, he thanked cashiers. He helped elderly neighbors carry bags without being asked. He treated people differently because he finally understood that effort existed behind every service he had once taken for granted. She looked at me across the dinner table. I didn't think this would happen. Neither did I. I thought you were destroying him. I was trying to stop rescuing him. There is a difference. Rescuing someone from every consequence often prevents them from becoming the person they were capable of being. Brad, meanwhile, remained exactly the same. He called once every few weeks with promises that never became actions. He spoke about future plans, new opportunities and better days that were always just around the corner. Kyle stopped believing him. Not because I convinced him. Because reality finally did. One afternoon, Brad invited him to spend the weekend together. Kyle accepted, hoping things had changed. He came home Sunday evening carrying the same backpack he had left with 2 days earlier. No stories. No excitement. Just silence. Finally, he sat across from me in the living room. He forgot. What? My birthday. I looked at the calendar. Brad had invited him the day before his birthday weekend. Kyle explained that they spent Saturday watching television, while Brad talked endlessly about himself. Sunday morning they woke up, had breakfast and drove home. Halfway back, Brad suddenly realized the date. He apologized. Said he had been busy. Said they would celebrate another time. Kyle laughed once while telling me the story, but there was no humor in it. Only disappointment. I spent years thinking he was the parent I was supposed to admire. He whispered. I said nothing. Sometimes silence is kinder than agreement. That evening he knocked on my office door again. I know birthdays don't matter much at my age. They matter. I missed something. You missed what? The person who never forgot. I remembered every birthday. Every school performance. Every championship game. Every doctor appointment. Not because I had a better memory than Brad. Because I had chosen to make Kyle part of my life long before he chose to make me part of his. He handed me a folded piece of paper. Inside was a receipt. He had deposited another payment into his college savings account. I wanted you to see it. I'm proud of you. His eyes became wet. I've been waiting a long time to hear that. The words hit me harder than I expected. For years I had been waiting for gratitude. All that time Kyle had been waiting for approval. Neither of us had known how to say it. That conversation changed something neither apology nor money ever could. We finally spoke to each other without anger standing between us. Later that week, Megan asked whether I planned to restore the entire college fund. I shook my head. Not all at once. Why? Because it belongs to both of us now. Kyle would continue saving. I would continue matching what he earned. The future would be built together instead of handed to him. He agreed without hesitation. That told me everything. Months earlier he would have demanded the account back because he believed it was already his. Now he considered every contribution a privilege instead of an obligation. The greatest surprise wasn't that Kyle had changed. It was that I had changed too. I stopped measuring love by how much I sacrificed. I started measuring it by whether the sacrifice helped someone grow. There is a difference that many parents never discover until it is too late. Giving someone everything can feel generous. Teaching them to value what they receive is far more difficult. Sometimes the most loving thing a father can do is refuse to make life easier until his child is ready to appreciate why it was ever easy in the first place. If I had continued paying every bill without question, Kyle would have reached adulthood believing that support arrived automatically. Instead, he learned that every comfortable life rests on someone else's hard work. And once he understood that truth, he finally became someone worthy of inheriting everything I had tried to build for him all along. The first letter from the university arrived at the end of August. It wasn't a warning. It was an acceptance notice confirming Kyle's enrollment, his financial plan, and the scholarship he had earned through months of hard work. He walked into the kitchen holding the envelope with both hands. I made it. There was no shouting. No celebration worthy of television commercials. Just quiet relief. I stood and hugged him. This time he hugged me back first. That simple gesture meant more than every expensive gift I had ever bought him. Megan cried as she read the letter. For months she had feared that our family would never recover from everything that had happened. Watching Kyle prepare for college with money he had helped earn himself changed something inside her as well. He grew up, she whispered. No, I answered softly. He finally had the chance to. For years we had confused comfort with love. Real love prepares someone for life after your help disappears. The weeks before college passed quickly. Kyle continued working, adding every paycheck to his savings. I kept matching his deposits exactly as we had agreed. The account that once represented only my sacrifice had become something different. It represented trust. Every dollar inside it had been earned by one of us and respected by both of us. One evening we sat together on the back porch watching the sun disappear behind the trees. I've been thinking, Kyle said. So have I. He smiled. I used to believe family meant the people you were born with. And now? I think family is the people who keep showing up after you give them every reason to leave. His words settled over the quiet evening like rain after a long drought. I remembered the night he had looked me in the eye and declared I was nothing. If someone had told me then that the same boy would someday say this, I would have called them foolish. People can change. But only after they choose to face themselves honestly. I don't expect you to forget what I said, Kyle continued. I won't. I don't expect you to pretend it never happened. I won't do that either. He nodded slowly. I just hope that one day, when someone asks about my family, I can answer differently than I did before. I looked at him. What would you say? He took a long breath. I'd say I have a father who chose me. For a moment I couldn't speak. There are sentences that erase years of pain. Not because they rewrite history. Because they finally acknowledge it. I wasn't born your father, I said quietly. No. But I tried to become one. You did. We sat without speaking after that. Some conversations don't need more words. The following weekend Brad unexpectedly arrived at the house. It had been months since anyone had seen him. He looked uncomfortable standing on the porch. I heard Kyle's leaving for college. He is. I wanted to talk. Kyle came outside before I could answer. Brad smiled awkwardly. I thought maybe we could spend some time together before you leave. Kyle remained polite. I have to work today. You can call in. I don't want to. Brad looked surprised. I thought hockey and work always came second. They used to. The silence between them stretched painfully. Finally Brad sighed. I know I haven't always been around. Kyle answered without anger. I know. I'm trying. I hope you do. There was no accusation. No shouting. No bitterness. Only the calm honesty of someone who no longer depended on promises. Brad nodded once before returning to his truck. As he drove away, I realized something I never expected. I didn't hate him anymore. For years I blamed him for disappearing. Now I understood that his absence had revealed the value of presence. Kyle watched the truck disappear down the street. I used to wait for him. I know. I don't anymore. That wasn't cruelty. It was acceptance. The night before college we packed the last box into my truck. Kyle looked around the garage where we had repaired old hockey gear, built budgets, and rebuilt something far more important than either of us understood at the time. I almost lost all of this. I shook my head. No. What do you mean? You almost failed to recognize it. There is a difference. Families aren't destroyed the moment someone speaks cruelly. They're destroyed when nobody is willing to confront the truth afterward. We confronted ours. It hurt. It nearly broke us. But it also gave us the chance to build something stronger than blind obligation. The next morning, as we drove toward the university, I realized I wasn't taking a boy to college. I was driving beside a young man who finally understood that respect is worth more than money, gratitude lasts longer than entitlement, and family is proven by actions repeated over years, not by the names written on birth certificates. Looking back, I no longer regret closing that college fund. Closing it forced both of us to open our eyes. Sometimes the greatest gift a parent can give isn't another check. Sometimes it's allowing someone to discover exactly who kept writing them all along. And sometimes, the words that nearly destroy a family become the very reason it finally learns what family truly means. So tell me honestly, if someone looked you in the eye after years of sacrifice and said, "You're nothing to us," would you have kept paying? Or would you have finally let your silence teach the lesson your words never could?